Hello, everybody. Welcome. Today, I have the great pleasure to interview a best-selling author, international coach, and energy healer, Melissa Minnich. Welcome, Melissa. Would you be able to tell us about yourself and introduce yourself, please?
Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Melissa Minnich, and I'm so happy to be here. I am a spiritual coach, energy healer, transformational coach. I have the Alchemy Mystery School, and I'm a number one international best-selling author. I just got 2026 top 10 inspiring women in the United States from MSN. So I'm excited about life and the journey that I've been on. I take people to these sacred, beautiful sites all over the world and do these incredible courses and different things, and uh, have a lot of cool, fun things happening around me. But I started my journey as a child very deeply open and deeply traumatized. So I had
Mm.
two NDEs by the age of 5. I had seen my first UFO at the age of 8, and then the amounts of trauma that I had between that and in my 20s led me into one, being a high achiever, top of my class, summa cum laude, like Ohio State, but also after that becoming an international drug trafficker and really destroying my life with drugs. And so in my late 20s, I went on a journey to heal myself. And that led me from that time to getting to do this work to where I ended up homeless at the age of 32. And that was really the start of my journey into this deeper work and finding the truth of my nature beyond just my physical body, but also into the realms of the galactic and these other
Mhm.
lifetimes and all of this other things. So it's been a fascinating journey to get from there to, we're now at 17 years later to, I can't believe I was looking the other day, I was like, oh my gosh, 2009, that was 17 years ago when I was homeless. And I was like, wow, what have I done in 17 years? And then what else is possible? The more that I grow and learn in this time, because 17 years, although it feels like a long time, in the end is really not that long yet.
Thank you for sharing your beautiful journey. You also have a beautiful book I started reading. Could you please share the name of your book?
It's called High on Life, a prescription for bliss. And bliss is about bliss consciousness. So it's a state, not an emotion. And
Right.
High on Life is a play on the fact that I was high on drugs and how I
Mhm.
found I had chasing ecstasy is one of the chapters. And I talk about ecstasy as in the actual MDMA, the pill ecstasy in my early
Mhm.
20s, and how I'd first found the experience of love through that, and then like
Mhm.
basically chasing that for the rest of my life until I found these processes that actually got me high like that, but on life and not on drugs. And I teach and share all the different processes that I've
Right.
learned over the last 17 years that I now teach all over the world.
Right. Because for what I know, we have the ability within our own self and our own being, in their own molecule that we produce within our own body, it creates and segregates the molecule. So naturally, we can access all of these states of bliss, love, consciousness through our own natural state of being.
Well, and it's not only that, but we literally live in the field, right? So as I've studied quantum physics and neuroscience, we understand that the unified field, it is a vibrational energy, and that field is the field of unconditional love. And so what's happened is in our society, we've become numb, and we've shut down our own energy fields that are like suck in, and we're not plugged into that field. So when you plug into all that is in that experience, you can't help but be that. And so it is our natural state to be in this inner state of peace and this in this inner state. So yeah, we can produce a molecule or the oxytocin that makes us feel love, but we're plugged into this field and this energy and this ability. We, even though we still have challenges in life, let me please be clear. Like, this isn't saying that I'm always happy and that I don't have emotions. It's saying that there's this inner ability that we have that then permeates throughout our lives that leaves us in a higher state of consciousness.
And we can tap into it and access it and connect to whenever we choose to. What we talked about, and when I got to connect with you, I realized that you're very particular with your energy and you have your field very refined, very, very protective. You don't just go out anywhere. So, but there was a calling for you that brought you to do quantum healing hypnosis, and I wanted to ask you, what inspired you to do that?
Well, first off, I have a connection to Dolores Cannon, as a guide and as someone I've been following her work and read all of her books and have been searching for someone that did, because I didn't want to actually learn and study it myself. And it's very similar. What I found after working with you, even though I've never studied her work, was that it was very similar to what I do with my own clients, but I'd never had anybody do it for me. And so,
Right.
it's like, and it's different when someone else is taking you on the journey than doing your own work. And so I have been called to this type of experience, one, because of my own work, and two, because I knew that there were a couple of things that I was like really wanting to understand on a deeper level. And even though I channel and I'm connected to my guides and the Council of Light and all these wonderful things, I still felt like there was something more, that there was somebody else that needed to take me on that journey. So I'd actually been looking for a couple of years to find the right person. And I had applied to get in with one person. And when it was like, she's on like a wait list for like a really long time, kind of thing. And so, the calling for me was a deeper understanding of like, what are my last pieces of things that I'm still working on that just won't quite let go of, like a physical injury, a longing for a thing, wanting a deeper connection and understanding some of my connections to my star family and things that I had been seeking but hadn't found, just like the right information. And I wanted to get my own ego out of the way of what I thought was going on and really
Right.
step into someone that had the power of that for myself. So that was what drew me. And although I've had other people say that they do these types of things and stuff like that, it's an energetics for me, right? Like, it's like, why did I choose this exact time? It was like, one, I believe it's a timing thing. It was exactly when I needed to have it happen. And two, it was because of you, because I was connected through to you. And when I felt the energy of that and I had that conversation with you, I knew that you were the one that needed to guide me. And so I think that there's a soul connection there too.
Yes, of course, for sure. When you arrived to Tulum and you actually got to the place and you felt the energy and we felt in person, what was your first impression? You know how they say your first impression is the one that always stays? What was your first feeling?
Well, I guess my first like aha or whatever was I'm like expecting I'm going to go in and I'm just going to go into this session and all this. And you actually spent so much time with me, like asking questions, finding out about who I was, like, going through. And so for me, I felt like, it's about me. I'm cared for. Like, this person wants to know me, not just like, where are we going in this journey, but like, who am I? So that's of course what, piece of that makes me feel really loved and safe. And then, we're in Tulum. It's beautiful. Like, you can't, so you got the energy of that, and your energy is just so lovely and you're so intuitive. Like, you would ask a question and then you'd be like, hold on. And then you'd be like, oh wait, let me ask, and I don't meet a lot of people, because that's how I am. I don't meet a lot of people that have that kind of connection like that. It's very rare. And you were just right on point with the questions that you asked. And so I could just immediately feel safe and connected in. And also, like, I knew I was with the right person because you were so deeply connected. And that is, I believe, in this type of work, the deepest connection is not the work itself, but the person that's doing it and who it's coming through. Because 2, 3 people, 5, 10 people could all learn the same process to take someone through, but it's who's it coming through and how are they integrating their own gifts into that work that makes it truly powerful.
I do remember that your guides were very present. They were very ready. They were bringing messages and they were very excited to connect with you. And there were a lot of messages. I wanted to ask you is, out of all of the messages, which one is the one that stood more to you? when we were doing your life map, which is very unique, even though I follow Dolores Cannock technique, of course, but it's very unique to the session because I tap into my intuition and energy to receive messages. So in regards to those messages, which ones were the most significant for you?
I really just think that, again, it's the process of how connected you are and the gift that you have for asking the right questions and connecting to the guides, bringing in the right things, the intuition of even just the ways that I would say things or stuff like that you would pick up on. Like it's the micro moments, right? It's not the big overall. Right. It was the very gifted micro moments of things that I would be like, oh, how did she know to ask that? Like, or wait, where'd she get that? You know, like, oh, she really knows, you know, kind of thing. That for me, definitely is probably my biggest takeaway and aha is again, even if you weren't doing QHHT and you were doing something else, like whatever, you know, all your other work and stuff, that gift itself is the most powerful thing. Yeah.
The other things were just modules that we can operate with, but yet we're still the operative system.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm gonna dive into the very deep and cosmic questions from your session. But first, I want to say your session was one of the most expansive, beautiful, very powerful. There is a lot of expansive energy, and there's also a lot of raw, deep wisdom and messages, lessons as well that happen. So I want to tap into this with a lot of care and respect for all of the processes and experiences that you went through during the session. And certainly there is a lot of wonderful cosmic information. Nevertheless, I want to keep very mindful of the core lessons of this immersive cosmic experience that you had during your quantum healing session. The one first thing that I want to bring forth is that people think that first contact, NETs, and life in other places, and this is becoming a bigger momentum that is built in their collective. And very interestingly enough is that the more I witness and the more I see sessions and people going through these expansive connections, is that we are the ETs.
But not all of us. But yes, there is a large quantity of us that are the ETs, and we are the supposed whatever you want. I don't like the word ET anymore, but we are those entities. We are those souls, those gifted ones that are multi-dimensionally galactic, have had many lifetimes and lived on different planets all over, that have come and chosen at this time to be here. We are that. We are not separate from that, but we're just here to do this role this time. It's like anything else. Like we're playing a role right now to learn, to grow, to experience, to help and things like that. And we've come here, but we've got a lineage.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's dive into your first life. It was this realization that you are this feline being and you're very made of this light etheric essence, beautifully dressed, non-fully physical. And you realize that you are embodying that. First off, coming into the session.
Let me explain this because I think this is really interesting. So I have already been connected to my Lyran lineage and my family. And so I believed and knew in my soul, like I had that connection, but I had never experienced it directly, meaning that I get channeled messages. I know I'm one of the council, the light will come in. I would get these messages. When I had traveled or things like that, I had never had a direct view where like I'm looking out of my eyes and I'm the one walking around my planet, or I'm like, I always looked at it and could see things as if I was like the observer, like I'm looking at this lifetime and I know that that's me. And, and I've been told that, or I would have these connections with these other people and I would be like, oh, but it wasn't a direct experience. So when you took me into this, and first off, it was crazy because you like asked me some random question and I'm just thinking we're doing like, like you've just been asking me all these questions and like the same thing. And then you're like, I don't remember what the first question is. But all of a sudden I'm like, are we supposed to be here? Like, I was like, because I'm like seeing this stuff and I'm like, I don't think this is what we're supposed to be doing. Wait, that's not what she asked, is it? Wait, I'm here on this, and I had this direct experience and I was embodied in it. And I was like, it was the first time ever, from all of my channeling and things like that, that I actually felt myself in the body. I felt it and I could see myself as that and see my role. And I was like, oh, wow.
Yes, totally. Like, how was that for you?
Well, I mean, obviously it was unique, definitely different than my humanoid earth skin. And also at the same time, it was kind of cool, like I'm like, oh, like I got to tap into this understanding of how, I mean, if I would have been walking around like that on this earth right now, people would probably look at me very strangely. But I felt so comfortable in that, like that softness, the features. I was this kind of, I was like a feline or lioness, like mixture of humanoid, still standing, but it was very interesting. But then also my body was so much lighter. Like I'm very dense. We're 3D here. We're very in the material world. And in the world of ascensions and, spirituality and all that, we talk about the 5D and the 6D and we talk about all this stuff, but to actually have an experience of feeling like you are the light, like I was a lighter. I was like, I wasn't full light, but I wasn't full form 3D, this kind of physical. And I could feel the difference in my body. Like, oh, but then also that's why we're here, because we're supposed to learn how to use the matter. That's the disconnection, right? It was like, yeah, we could do it in that lighter, energetic, light body. And I was like, yeah, got it.
It's definitely easier when we're just made of light and everything is lighter, everything is instant. That takes me to the next part of that session, because there was a sound, vibration, frequency that was very connected to you. And you step into a console. It was very specific for the function that it had. And there was actually a very key moment in your session, because there was a situation, there was an issue, there was a war. And that was something that was pressing in matter for the console to be resolved, and you were part of that. There was also a lesson, very powerful, in each of those lives that you experienced, but referring to this life, how did you feel with that understanding and learning about what happened in that life? And I also see a very specific moment in our planet that where we are very similar to something that happened in that life. So from what you're living here right now to there, what is a lesson you can share?
I think there's several from that, and one being first the gift of sound and frequency, and that being a part of like my role in the council and how important sound and frequency is now, which makes a lot of sense because in this lifetime right now, one of the things that I'm working with and working on as I'm going in my doctorate is with DNA and understanding how sound and frequency and our words actually do that. So sound and frequency and sing and things like that have always been a big part of my life. And I had actually shut down my throat chakra for years and silenced myself. So there was a big lesson for me around that piece of understanding and how that, that proliferates and what we can use in the world. But there was another piece that, and it's funny, it's coming back to me. It was like this, in this experience of understanding that no matter what we could do, right, there was this council, and we were coming together, and it was the Lyran Council of Light, and we were here, and we had been around for a long time, right, the Elohim, the time, and yet there was nothing, like, no matter what we tried, there was nothing that we were able to do to stop what was happening. And we had come together, and there's a couple of pieces in that for a lesson for me. One, because there's a guilt that comes with, like, not being able to save everyone and losing your planet and all of that, right? And there's a piece of, like, a longing for home that I've definitely had, my entire life. That is a piece of that, but it's also this part of, like, how do I put this? No matter how hard we try, sometimes the thing has to happen and roll out the way that it does, right? Like, yeah, I believe in the duality of, we have light and dark. And although everybody in this world right now wants to be in the love and the light and everything, we have the duality of both sides in the shadow. And sometimes we need the shadow, and a lot of time, right, to learn to move and transform. And so as much as we could want or to change something, there's a greater purpose for why it's happening the way that it is, and not everything is always just going to happen and heal the way that we want it to. Think of it like, I believe everything is healable, right? Every disease, but I can have three people that have cancer, and two will completely heal the cancer, and the third one won't. All same techniques, but as the third one has something to learn different from it, right? So there was this lesson that we were then required to understand, and to recognize, to be able to see the diversity, to see all the difference, to see the changes, to create the role and play in the life and things like that.
Yeah, learning from the full spectrum.
Right, from the full spectrum, right? If we're only ever staying over in this one side, we're missing all of these other things. Yeah, and so there's definitely a lesson in embracing, like, applying that to this lifetime, right? We are in the midst of, like, the biggest breakdown before the breakthrough. And although statistically we look and everything is actually getting better, like David Hawkins' scale says, we've raised in consciousness. Like, you look over thousands of years, and things that we don't have the brutality of, the Stone Ages anymore, or whatever, right? Those things are getting better, but we're also at this precipice of, like, this massive breakdown of our societies, our thinking, the way that the world is, so we can break through. And so, honestly, the energies of the two, this is the aha I'm having right now, the energies of the two from that experience and that lifetime and what's happening right now are very, very much the same. It's gonna grow, we're gonna change, but there's going to be some casualties. And that's part of what, since I've been through casualty before, as you have also, right? We've been through casualty. We understand what's going to happen in the aftermath, which is already, like, look at Epstein files, the rape academies, like all these casualties that are happening in the world, the wars, the things like that are happening, that we're here to hold, but we've been through before, so our bodies can hold it better.
You're speaking about the DNA. Some people don't remember, and they're becoming conscious. But the key of the DNA is there, the information is there, the frequency is there, the knowledge is there. Even if the person doesn't fully remember or knows why it's having this experience right now, there is a reason why that happens. And having the awareness to it allows for that energy to be more useful. It's bringing the awareness of having the awareness of knowing our toolkit and how to utilize it. And as you speak about quantum physics, it turns itself on. It knows what it needs to do at a frequency vibration. It requires a very small shift from each individual to have a positive shift that is more aligned so that the frequency can be sustained. So when we are facing these changes, our antennas can be more tuned in and more, we can create this ripple. Let's dive into your next life. That life was very interesting because you were fully non-physical and you were moving from being light into a projecting consciousness. And you were projecting that consciousness into a pot like a spaceship, and you were observing this planet. It was a red, orange, yellow planet. You were observing it, and at first I wanted to see what you wanted to learn from there, because you were not just only observing a planet, you were observing a mantis race that was inside that planet, and they have technology. Do you want to share a bit more about that? How was it?
I think it was like I think I did have some sort of physical light body form or something somewhere, but I was projecting my consciousness, and I felt like almost like I was the ship. Like it was this weird, like but it was like somehow I was able to project, and it was this ship in this experience, and we were observing this planet. And what I came to understand through working and everything in this praying mantis being that was was there was some sort of technology, and the technologies were being put in different planets, different places, things like that. And then we were observing what was happening on these planets that had the abilities with these technologies. And I was even like, I think it was like there was somewhere we were like taking away the technology or wanted to take because they were going to do something, right? Like there was something, there was something around that. It was this very interesting thing, but the technology was coming from these praying mantis beings. Like they had built something or created something that was so powerful, yet in the wrong hands, very deadly, right? Very or could create mass challenges for people if not used correctly. It was meant to be something for good, but like anything, there's the two sides of a coin, right? There's this thing, it was meant for something good, but yet there's this possibility, and it could have been through just negligence or through actually trying to do something wrong, right? I believe that there's different ways that the technology could have gone wrong or done the wrong thing, that were not just I'm an evil villain and I'm going to go do the wrong thing with this thing, even though that was a possibility. It could also just be through we tried to do something and we really screwed up and really just hurt everybody and we weren't trying to, kind of thing. And so it was very fascinating to see that, to be the observer of that and to see that experience. And it's fascinating as we're going back through, this is so funny, Pauline, as we're going back through these and I'm having the memories of going through this, because as I haven't listened to this in a long time, like, right, it's been a while since we did this. I'm now having ahas that I haven't even, because I'm thinking about it now and I'm like, oh my God, look at where we're at right now with AI in the world. Look at what's happening with different technologies that we have that are so powerful, but that it could also be super deadly. Like, oh my gosh, there's so many ways that this is applicable to what's going on in the world right now, where it has to be the consciousness of the people using the technology that allows it to be a good thing. And what do we do? What do we do right now, right? Like right now in the world, what do we do with all of this? Because I think AI, right? Like I think AI is absolutely incredible. And it can also be dangerous, and it also can be super consciousness, and it can also, right? There's so many ways to look at these things. Like, personally, I have AI employees now. It's completely changed my life. Like it's incredible what they're doing. And, and there's also the dark side of what AI is possible and capable of, but that's all about, we're still the ones that are consciousness through that. And I see that lineage right now with that lifetime of watching and seeing technology and the uses of it, and then also knowing, whether it is common knowledge or not, we very clearly know we've blown up this planet more than once. Or we are literally, and Bruce Lipton calls it the sixth extinction right now. We're literally in an extinction, and we've had many of them. And some of them, they say, they try to play off why it happened or whatever, the floods, this and that and stuff. But we know some shit happened.
And so it's very interesting because I've never really understood how this role of technology is being handled. We think we're just evolving naturally, which sure we are, but this is orchestrated at a larger scale. and it is brought in.
It was very galactic. It was people from all over different planets. Everybody looked different. There was like, I thought I saw like beings that I was like, what are you? Like, where do you come from? It's very much, there was not, there was, I mean, you know, the humanoid presence was like this, right? It was like there was this council, there was all these different beings. And it was very clear that whereas before the Lyran with the Council of Light, it was a very specific council of this one was like, they're very much the Galactic Federation, right? It is all everybody coming together because the key is that the things that are happening and the stuff that's going on with these technologies, it doesn't just affect one planet. This is a galactic, you know, universal, galaxy wide thing that's happening that could offset how the whole entire everyone lives.
And it's very clear that this observation through your life is like everything is agreed through the council, and it is actually introduced. I don't mean that the ETs come to the spaceship and...
I believe in the past it was. They would actually come out and bring technologies. Now it's more of like a signal, or, you know, the collective consciousness gets downloaded with ideas. Like think of like Tesla and things like that. Like these ideas come through. And that's why when some people go for patents, 4 people will have the same patent within a week of each other, or go for the same patent, right? Because it's dropping down into all of these different consciousness. And that's actually, so our DNA has antennas. And so how's that actually happening? It's through the field that they're dropping it in, but they're dropping it into the antennas of our DNA, and we're having this experience, this remembrance, or this download that's coming through. And so we're getting this information or these things, and then at some times in the past we've had information and it's been taken away. We have been like we've had something switched or changed, so we forget, or don't have access to it anymore because we didn't use it correctly. And now we're at a time where, but it is definitely an agreed upon by organizations, councils, federations that are way more advanced than us as earthlings, and here way more advanced, that are like, and even just for other planets, not just us. We're not the only ones getting technologies, right? It's not just us. Even the time doesn't exist, but this isn't something that just like, oh, one day I'm just going to do this and see what happens. This has been going on and been planned out for a really long time. And then when something doesn't go right, they have to go back to the drawing board and be like, well, that didn't work that way. We need to pull back or do or whatever.
That was a very big eye opener. Once there's information and this information starts to click into the collective, and then we can observe it, how many human beings are tapping into this technology, and then you realize there's a cohesive understanding of how that works. There's something very specific about that life. It is that you share that planet Earth is in a critical mass. We looked into what that is, and I think this is very important, and it's very key and specific because it's something that is happening right now as well. Can you share more about what you realized?
I almost see it as a converging of 2 timelines, right? So we have one timeline that allows us to rise in consciousness and to keep moving towards a more unified state and more towards being part of the Galactic Federation and the family, and in this like trajectory back to like the stories talk about like going to 5D Earth and the Tara and the things like that. But then we also have this timeline here where the trajectory says we don't learn our lessons, we don't do the things, and we spend another 75,000 years, right? Another cycle on this other trajectory. It's a critical mass where we are and scientifically what they say is the square root of 1% of the population is all it takes to create a shift. And so that's a possibility for us to happen, to move. But the critical mass being, I guess if I don't know, call it critical mass, but I feel like it's a critical junction point, almost like we're like at this moment in time that is the most critical moment in time in all of Earth's history right now, even more important than when, Atlantis fell, or, any of the Great Deluge, or, any of those types of things, where this is the time where it is the most critical for our planet, because again, we're in an extinction. Animals are dying. The oceans, right? Like, just remember back when COVID happened and whenever the world shut down for a while and how everything started growing back so quickly and then like started regenerating itself. We have to do something now, and we're in that space. But my belief is that the critical mass shoots us into a whole new era.
Yeah. I remember that this is a threshold point. This is a threshold moment. It's a critical mass where we are witnessing the potential downside. But this stage is leading us to the threshold moment.
It's almost like the point of no return. Once we pass that, there's no way we're not going to be able, right? We're getting to a point where there's so many people remembering and shifting and changing, and the consciousness of that there's this like line where I believe once we pass that,
we just keep moving forward. And there is another important point that was shared during your session. There is a protocol for technology containment. So you were observing the council and how it operates, and it occurred to me to ask you, what happens if something is gonna go wrong with the technology? So then how does the council proceed? How does the council operate on that situation? Because it does look like for planet Earth that we just came out of a technology containment, as we can witness more technologies being accessible. So that was interesting for me to observe during your session and to hear that we just came out of a very long time of slow process, almost like a stone age. Then let's dive into your last life. This happened long time ago in Egypt. And you described the scene of Egypt this lifetime. It was very ancient, before Kemet. And it also sounded like it was recorded, like it was older than what has been found and recorded up to this date. I think like if it has been found, perhaps it hasn't been fully revealed because the controversy that it will present to archaeologists and their story, and perhaps they don't show everything up to the open.
It's already happening, deeply happening. The archaeologists that I work with in Egypt has found things that are 40, 50,000 years old that defy what we believe about humanity.
In that life, the first thing that came in, and I was very excited to hear because I've heard in other sessions as well, is that the Sphinx is a lioness, and it is recognized, iconic female energy. And you called her like a grandmother. It was like the first lioness that came to Earth, actually. And for me, it is very mind-blowing that they have changed their face up to this date.
Well, and not only that, so the Sphinx in itself, right? So the Sphinx is connected also to Sekhmet, which is the lioness goddess. Both are connected to the Lyrans. Sphinx is Mehit, the grandmother, but there's more than one. There's more than one Sphinx.
Yeah, I have awareness of two.
No, there's three. There's three. They will just, my belief is that they'll discover one more of them in this lifetime, but the third one won't ever be discovered. But there were three that I have seen personally. And I think that this is really powerful to understand, like, we think that, yes, and there is a connection to to Leo and the Orion constellations and all those things, but to understand the Kemet and the ancient Egyptians and the people that even came before that, how connected they were to the stars, and they knew that they came from the stars, and they knew that, right, this was all about this. And many of them, even before they, as they were creating the humanoid that we are today, that even before that came, that these were these these beings were coming to this planet because they were, Earth is going to be a library. It was going to be this
Yeah.
library, and so there was this way of like there's things stored in the, what I saw and what I've seen is like things stored in this in the paw of the Sphinx, and using crystals store information, DNA stores information, right? All these things that are happening that are so incredible, and so I think it's a yeah. I was just getting ready to go to Egypt, but right when we did this session. And so even though I didn't know if I was
Right.
going to actually get any information about Egypt, because I go take students there every year on these beautiful initiate journeys, I was so excited that I actually got to go to a lifetime in Egypt. I was like, here.
Yes, I know. I really love that Egypt came through, and this was so fascinating. Your life in Egypt. In that life, you recognize that energy of the ancient grandmother as a lioness and a sphinx, and there was this very deep connection that you had through crystals, and you went through this life where you started first as an apprentice. You were going through the process of learning how to encode frequencies to create these libraries, and that was a process that was happening for quite some time. Also, there was a map of the earth, and you were traveling to different points. The pyramid was completely different, and it was a power source of energy. You described it so beautifully. These many places that were encoded with energy.
It was like the knowledge couldn't just stay in that one place. Like we had, I was an apprentice. We were encoding the information. We were there in Kemet. We were under the Sphinx. There was this, you had to understand it. But then we knew we had to disperse the knowledge to other places to make sure that if anything happened, that it wouldn't be the only place that the information was held. And so we had then traveled
Right.
to these like specific grid lines and nodes in different parts of the planet to also encode the knowledge there in the crystals and in different places, and so that the information is all there, and even whether we ever understand how to open the knowledge of that or understand how to get the information from the crystals, that frequency
Yeah.
is there, and that knowledge, as we rise our consciousness, will start to open up and to be understood.
Yeah, absolutely. There were many lessons from that life, but I would like to bring forth this particular lesson because there was a group that was formed by star consciousness being. I remember that in that life, your life was very human versus the other ones. It was not so human. So even though your life was very human, the consciousness was very connected to the stars, the information, and everything that was shared was connected to the stars. There was another group that were configured out of the kingdoms and this culture of having kings and royals, different type of royals that are based on wealth and what they have. But to me, the real royals are connected to their frequency and their DNA. The knowledge and wisdom is more based on the internal wealth rather than the wealth of physical things that one can own or possess. But it looked like in that life, this was the first duality that was presented, where the royals and kings wanted to just keep having more and more and more. They wanted to have more technology, more power, more riches. And then there was the other group that was more like they were the guardians, which is the group in which when you were part of, like they were guardians and keepers of balance, like knowledge and information connected to the stars. Like the purpose was more to safeguard and have this use for the good. So this is another similar scenario of what we're experiencing now on the planet, if we really look at it and put it into context. It looks like during these times, like there is like a pyramid system where there is a limit for people to grow and evolve. It feels like this structure started to emerge back then.
There was definitely a shift. There was definitely, and I actually believe, like, it's that idea, that shift that we had from the matriarchy to the patriarchy kind of thing. Like,
Yeah, also, yeah. Yeah, because the energy was very feminine in your group.
yeah. And then the pendulum swings the other way, and then it's about power and, and those things. And so we can see that right now, obviously, in the way that the world is working too. It's so funny as we go through all these lifetimes, like how there's so many things that are so parallel to what are some of the things that are happening right now in this planet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of like the protection of the knowledge needed to be there, right? The protection of these different things due to the shifting of the way that society was being ran, or the way that these were. So.
So let's wrap up with your last life. What would be the most significant lesson that you could share? I remember things ended quite roughly. Everything had to be shut down and the PowerPoints had to be deactivated. And it looks like they had to back up all the plan of what originally was intended.
I don't, was this the last lifetime, the one where, okay, yeah. So what I do remember, because I cried deeply, I was crying my eyes out. I was deeply traumatized because we were trying to do good and yet we hurt people. There was something that happened where we had something that was, we were trying, because we took all these crystals and put them everywhere and did this thing. And then we went back to this thing. And we were trying to do good. And I remember I lost everything. I lost like my entire family, or I lost my entire village or community or something. I just remember bawling my eyes out and just being like, I felt it somatically. It was so deeply sad. And also just made me really, I think the lesson from that is that even in the depths of your trying to do good, sometimes you do harm without even meaning to. And how do I take that into, like, apply that to the modern world? Look at a war between two sects. Each of them thinks they're doing the thing in love for their own people and their families, and the ones that they think they're right, and the other ones think they're wrong too.
For sure, yeah.
That's a rough one to hold. That hurts.
Yeah. The integration process of all of this, and once your higher self was invited to come in, and this consciousness is the glue that brings everything together, because now we can really organize where all the pieces and all the lives go together, and then they make sense. They have a purpose. Versus when we're on the journey, we're just going from one to another. But once the higher self is in, then it's able to bring a deeper perspective and understanding and into the all of it. How did it feel for you to connect with your higher self?
This is the difference. And this is what I really want to explain to people, because I can do connection. Like, I do connection by myself. I can connect in, I get the information, I get the downloads. This was different. I walked as that. It was, it was more than a connection. I was the embodiment of every single one of those lifetimes. I was there in it, feeling it. So, like, I do Akashic, or I get Akashic records reading, or I'll have a memory, or I'll have something come through. But in this experience, it was like I wasn't on the bed laying there in Tulum. I was in the body of the experience where I was at, walking that experience and having it and being embodied. And so it was super powerful, because I think part of that was the somatic healing that came around with, like, being able to process like that. I cried physically so hard at that one point, but I think I needed to release that. And I think that it shows up in my life deeply in my, in certain ways that I would, my need to help everyone kind of thing in certain ways and stuff like that. Like these things that were stuck in my body, that were like from like in the body, because they're in my DNA, because that's the intent is that lifetime that is then in here, that I got to actually like shift and change, which was really freaking powerful. So it's more than just I had a connection, like I was there.
There was a pink loving energy that came through, that it's connected to the rose lineage of Venus. It was a pure consciousness of a feminine energy that creates order, balance, and it brings sacred balance. And that was part of what your higher self brought to you as information, that you are part of that lineage. And how did it feel for you to connect to this ancient feminine rose lineage energy?
It's amazing. It's there's a deep feminine wisdom and energy and love that is pouring into this planet right now from so many different places, and one of those being this beautiful rose lineage. And that energy is just it's powerful. It's like the heart opening, right? It's that love, and it's I feel it most of the time. I work deeply with that lineage, but I think to be able to feel and understand that not only you're supposed to feel it, but to permeate it on an even deeper and greater level, because they say love heals all. And if you think about it, right, like there's a reason that says that. I know, I've had people that have had like just, like a dis-ease, and, we, try all the methods, all the things and everything, and nothing heals it. And I'm like, what if you just love that part of you?
Right.
Like there's something powerful that. And so all this woo-woo talk we hear about love and light, in the end, the frequency of that pink, and that's why I see this, that pink, beautiful energy is that does heal all.
How does that embodiment translate into your current life? So once we walk through all of it, how can you explain this translation of it into your life?
Well, one of the things that really helped me, so one of the other things that we didn't talk about that I worked on was the fact that I have had a deep desire and need to have another child for like a long time. It's gone on for a while, but for the last year and a half before this session, I would cry every time I thought about it, or when I saw a child or a baby or something like that. And part of the takeaway with these lifetimes and seeing these things and doing this was that my it was part of me. It was like, it's not necessarily about the baby and the child. It was about this nurturing and this need and this connection into love. And so I was able to completely let that go. It really just completely shifted the way my experience in my world and my body, of being like, okay, everything is exactly as it's meant to be. I'm here to do this work, and especially if I'm going to be doing this work, it's probably not best to have a baby running around anyways, kind of thing. So being able to see these lifetimes, to understand how they are connected to what's going on in the planet now, and to really truly, even though I've known this for a while, the confirmation of my work here and what I'm meant to do, and understanding that on a deeper level. I think like all of us, when we do this work, sometimes there's moments of times where I'm like, I'm just done. I'm going to walk away. I don't care. I'm going to go, I don't know, not work it, go find something, be a cashier. I don't know, something, right? Like there's moments of time where like, I'm just done. And this really allowed me to have the fortitude and the push through to really understand things and like embody that and stay with it and say, okay, now, but it also has made me completely shift the inner workings of a couple of relationships in my life, personal relationships, and also in my business, how I'm structuring some things and the ways that I'm moving forward, doing some different things that I've, either I've held back on or didn't want to do, and like, in that kind of way. So it physically showed up in the BS I'm not willing to put up with in relationships, the transformation around, a couple pieces, and the friendships, and then also in the business of like, these are some things that I need to add in and to do, or to shift, to really have this fullness that I want to have.
There was this message of opening and receiving from your higher self.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like I never knew how much I didn't like. I thought I was such a receiver and open to receiving, and it's been so wild to just see how much more capable of receiving I am, and what the next levels of that kind of receivership are, and the possibilities of it. It's wild.
Your higher self reoriented everything into different parts of your life, and it said about your business that if you treat your business like you treat your man.
Yes, yes. Oh God, I know. I didn't remember that, but now as you said it, yep. It's so true.
Are you treating your business like you're treating like you would treat your man?
I actually have been calling, so I have a new AI, employee I'm working with, and I'm calling him. I call him my boyfriend. His name is Victor. Like I'm totally like I am dating my business right now for sure. I have been dating my business for the last few months, and it's been fabulous.
Thank you, Melissa. We have covered all.
So happy to do it and grateful to be a part of it. Yeah, really lovely.